It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Hi, this is 1984. So begins George Orwell's seminal novel of a dystopian future. The book is set in the not-too-distant future of 1984, in what was formerly England, now known as Oceania. The world is constantly at war and everything is rationed, from razor blades to chocolate, cigarettes to gin, and Big Brother is always watching. The story follows the path of Winston Smith and his journey to the heart of the party. Winston works in the Ministry of Truth, a misnomer of the highest order, part of the four ministries: Mini Love, which governs law and prison; Mini Pax, which reports the war; Mini Plenty, which regulates rations; and Mini True, which creates and maintains propaganda. His job is to rewrite the predictions of the politicians to align with what actually happened. Once finished, the truth goes down the memory hole. Let me read from the book. The party said that Oceania had never been in alliance with Eurasia. He, Winston Smith, knew that Oceania had been in alliance with Eurasia as short a time as 4 years ago. But where did that knowledge exist? Only in his own consciousness, which in any case must soon be annihilated. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth. Who controls the past, ran the party slogan, controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And yet the past, though of its nature alterable, never had been altered. Whatever was true now was true from everlasting to everlasting. It was quite simple. All that was needed was an unending series of victories over your own memory. Reality control, they called it. In Newspeak, doublethink. One fateful day, Winston buys a real book and pen and sets down his thoughts. A crime in the world of 1984, where mere thoughts of straying from the doctrines of the party can be grounds for death. He meets a young woman named Julia, and they begin an affair. There are rumors of a book written by Emmanuel Goldstein, the leader of a resistance group known as the Brotherhood, and together they seek out this book. They find an ally in O'Brien, a member of the inner party, who they believe to be part of the Brotherhood. Throughout the course of the novel, we begin to see the unraveling of Winston's indoctrination as he begins to see through the veneer of lies propagated by the party and Big Brother. To find out what happens to Winston, though, you'll have to read the book. This book was an eerily prescient warning when it was written in 1949, and has been proven time and again to be accurate, at least in principle. So accurate was this book that Orwellian was entered into the lexicon. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it's an adjective meaning characteristic or suggestive of the totalitarian state depicted in his dystopian novel of the future. Those new Facebook privacy concerns, Orwellian. The questionable wiretapping after 9/11, you got it, Orwellian. Google Street View, Orwellian. And it goes beyond mere surveillance. The politicians and talking heads of the news networks are guilty of tossing things down the memory hole, as Winston does with the information he is tasked with rewriting at the Ministry of Truth. I have 10 copies of this book on my shelf, right over there, right now. And every time I reread it, I gain something new. I catch something I missed, and I make a new connection to my life, the world, and the text. Check this book out. I promise you won't be disappointed. And as the party says, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Now to shift gears, how would I use this text in a class? Well, I would probably include it in a unit on dystopian fiction, aligning it with Brave New World and Fahrenheit 451. These three books all describe a future that is eerily similar to our own, and I think it's important to use them as a lens with which to view our own world. I think this book would be a group read, with maybe the students choosing one of the other two books to read on their own. Some students would pick Fahrenheit 451, others would pick Brave New World. Then we could discuss all three at the end. I'm thinking it would probably be good to have them read Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World before 1984, and then use 1984 as the culmination of the unit, finishing with a jigsaw of the students who read opposite books and creating a final project together. So the folk Students who read 1984 or read Fahrenheit 451 would be paired with a student who read Brave New World, and together they would combine them both into the 3-book project. They could then present their project in any manner they saw fit, utilizing some of the principles of UDL that we spoke of in class. I think this kind of openness in assessment, giving them choice, would definitely contrast nicely with the totalitarian nature of all the novels, and possibly give them an additional avenue of inquiry to explore. Some good activities for this novel would be finding current examples of the principles of the party and Big Brother in our own world. The students should have no problems connecting the larger themes of the novel to their own constantly connected lives on the internet. Hopefully that'll help them think more critically about the nature of the internet and the age of surveillance. I also think it would be important to tie in the concept of nationalism into the instruction, possibly through cross-teaching with the history department, to explore the role of nationalism not only in our country, but in the world as a whole, different countries and how nationalism affects them, not least of which World War II Germany and the Nazi Party, but it's present in all countries across the world. And I think it would be good for the students to see how nationalism affects our perceptions and beliefs, both consciously and unconsciously. I think one of the obvious alternate texts would be the internet. There are aspects of the themes of this novel everywhere in our current culture. As I mentioned, the surveillance and the wiretapping in Facebook and Google Street View, those all combine and those all meet on the internet. We could possibly also explore the impossibility of escaping your digital path in the 21st century. I recently read a great article in Wired Magazine where one of their editors attempted to exist online with a new identity. He left his current identity and tried to live for 3 months under a new name on the internet and exist in Facebook and YouTube and all of that stuff. And I think that's an ideal text that could be brought in that's relevant and interesting to read for the students. And I think this would go to the heart of the underlying and often invisible surveillance that exists everywhere online. My overall goal with this novel would be to help students view the world around them with a more critical eye, and to know that the facts and information that they encounter are not always as they appear. It's up to them to create and maintain their own knowledge, and to question the world that they inhabit. This is easily my favorite novel of all time, as you can probably tell. And I know the hazards of teaching a novel that you love, but I'm willing to put aside my personal feelings towards this book, at least as much as I can, in order to get this text into as many hands and as many brains as possible. So if you're interested, definitely pick up 1984. This is my commemorative 1984 edition. And if you happen to see a first edition of 1984 online somewhere for cheap, definitely drop me an email. Thank you so much for watching. This has been my book talk on 1984. Thank you.